in this segment, we're going to show you how to do a normal vinaigrette. Now, a normal vinaigrette has 1 part vinegar and 3 parts oils, meaning that it's a high calorie item, right? So what we're going to do first, we're going to take our trimmings that we did from previous preparation. We're going to add first our mustard. Our mustard in a regular vinaigrette, all right, acts as a little bit of a stabilizer. It helps us, helps the vinegar and the oil bind together, all right? It's one of the elements that will help stabilize it. We're going to add in here our vinegar. And we're going to start blending this together. And as this is going, we are going to add slowly our oil to emulsify our vinaigrette, right? It's very important that we add our oil slowly, right? Because we want the blades, as it is emulsifying, to create air particles. These air particles are going to be what creates that binding, all right, between a fat and a liquid that otherwise would not create that binding. This is what we call an emulsion, okay? You can do this by hand in a whisk, all right? But technology is always a beautiful thing. It helps us do it in a shorter amount of time. Now, as I mentioned before, a vinaigrette is a high caloric content. Let me give you an example of what I'm saying. 1 ounce, fluid ounce of olive oil or canola oil can have up to 260 calories per ounce. Now, in this vinaigrette, just to give you an example, right, we have 2 ounces of vinegar and 6 ounces of oil. That means that this is going to have at least, all right, 740 grams, 740 calories, all right? Now, I'm going to add a little bit of cayenne, just a quarter of a teaspoon, and I'm going to add salt and pepper. So now that we have our emulsion, we are going to strain it. Now, something very important that we want to talk about is that our vinaigrette has to be balanced, all right? Balance means that it cannot be too oily, that we feel it in the front of our tongues and all across our mouth, or too acidic, that we feel it on the back of the tongue and in our throats, all right? It has to be nice balance in order to be pleasant, all right? Now, we have our emulsion ready. We are going to strain it, and we want to strain this to avoid the particles. As you can see in here, we see that the vinaigrette has a lot of particles. That can translate into graininess, and that could be unpleasant for some of the customers, okay? And we're using a chinoise, and as you can see, we have a nice, beautiful, thin, clean, and velvety emulsion in here, all right? What we're going to do is we're going to reserve this in a container. for our salad later on. You can see in here that beautiful color, guys, that creaminess, and you see the emulsion. It is well done. How do we know that our emulsion is not well done? It needs some help. Well, first of all, you see how it's breaking, how the separation of the fats and the liquids are occurring. In here, you can see that it's nice and velvety. But now, something that I want to show you is how to create a vinaigrette that has the same texture, the same mouthfeel, the same flavor, with at least 2/3 less of a calorie, right? So how we're going to do this is we're going to show you a vinaigrette that has the same mouthfeel, the same texture, the same flavor, but 2/3 less of a calorie. Wow. How is that possible? Well, we're going to need the same amount of vinegar. We're going to need, instead of the 6 ounces, we are going to need 1.5 ounces of oil. We're going to have in here, instead of the trimmings, we're going to have already a used beet. To enhance flavor, we're going to add a vegetable stock. If you prefer, you can add chicken stock. And something that is going to help with the mouthfeel and the texture is going to be xanthan gum. All right? So basically, we have, instead of 3 parts oil and 1 part vinegar, we're going to have 1 part vinegar, 1 part oil, and 2 parts, all right, liquid. Liquid can be any liquid that you want, depending on the flavor profile that you're going to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to add our beet juice, our vegetable stock. We're going to add in here our vinaigrette. And something that we're going to be doing is we're going to take 1/4 teaspoon and we're going to add it into our liquid. It could be the vinaigrette, it could be the stock, it could be the beet juice, okay? What we want to do is we want to hydrate our xanthan gum, and by hydrating, we're going to obtain a nicer product, okay? So now that we have hydrated, we're going to add it in here. We are going to start mixing this up on a low speed, okay? And we're going to emulsify the oil the same way as we emulsify the oil in the previous vinaigrette, right? The difference is that the xanthan gum in here is going to, all right, act as a binder, stabilizes, very similar to the mustard, but also as it hydrates and it gets mixed with all the components, it's going to help thicken naturally the vinaigrette, making it into a nice emulsion that will not break. Many vinaigrettes that are sold in the supermarkets utilize xanthan gum or guar gum for this process. As you see, a nice steady stream of oil into our vinaigrette. And now all we have to do is just season it with our salt and pepper. I'm going to taste it now. And soon we'll be ready for the next component. Now, see the similarities of both of them? It's got a perfect balance. I don't feel the bitterness or the acidity in my throat. I don't feel the oiliness in the tongue. All right. So now I'm gonna take and mix it in here. And since this was a juice, we don't need to strain it as we did with the other ones. Something that you're gonna notice is that this one has a richer color than this one, as we had the concentrated beet juice in this one versus this one. All right. So next, we're gonna start showing you how to do the candy pecans for our compost salad.